No, I remember finishing work one day, doing my plumbing job, coming back and thought, oh, hang on, I'm passing a Desi pub. And I went in for a medium mixed grill. Everyone's at the bar laughing at me. Now, what are they laughing at? Because this thing come in like a rugby ball, a steaming meat.
It's just like sitting in a pub, and then they brought the food out, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was something else.
When you hear about the history of it, the Asian community working in the factories around here, you're probably a bit annoyed at pie and mash at lunchtime and thought, you know what, let's go to a booze and let's do our food with a pint of beer. And I think it works perfectly. And you can see it taking off everywhere. It's just perfect. Beer and decent Indian food. I mean, what more can you want?
This week we are talking about Desi Pubs. Pubs that are a fusion of British and Indian cultures. It's a story about great food, but also about changing ideas of Britishness. I'm Jaega Wise and welcome to the food programme. There'll be much more from my trip to the West Midlands later. But first, I'm in an old pub near Borough Market in London. It's late morning and there's that lovely old beer smell from a well-loved space. Barrels are getting taken out of the cellar and Gaurav Khanna, one of the landlords, is showing me around.
So right here we have a gift given by one of our locals on our 5-year anniversary. It's basically a timeline of all the landlords since 1862.
Wow.
He was a big lover of this pub, still is. He lives in America now. Rob is his name. But he dug down and got all the landlords since 1862. So some lasted 30 years, others 1 year, others 6 months, and that's my sister and I right at the bottom. One other thing I'd like to talk about is the dog over there smoking pipe. So in 2022, we had filming in the pub. So we had Mark Wahlberg and Halle Berry, and that's what they branded the pub to look like from the outside. But I guess that's your American version of what a pub is, a bulldog smoking pipe.
We are in the Gladstone Arms to meet journalist and beer writer David Jesudason. His book, Desi Pubs, A Guide to British-Indian Pubs, Food and Culture, is both a guidebook and a cultural exploration of these much-loved businesses.
So like, it's Desi. And it's like rhymes with messy.
Messy.
That's the best way to do it. So aim for Lionel Messi and say Desi.
And what does Desi mean?
And Desi is a Sanskrit word for the homeland. In this case, it refers to India. But it can also mean a group of people. Desi could be people who have left India and are living in other countries like England. So I'm a Desi.
What does a Desi pub mean?
A Desi pub is a pub that was set up by people of Indian origin, Desis, to have a safe space to drink in a time when they couldn't have that, in the time of segregation, in the time of the colour bar, or in the time of exclusion and racism. So I think it's really important that the term is linked to this idea of racist struggle. You could say simplistically a Desi pub is a pub run by someone of Indian origin, but then a Wetherspoons could be run by, or a Fuller's pub or a chain pub could be run by someone of Indian origin. But I think a Desi pub has that history, but also it's about stamping our identity onto that pub. So you see it in the food that's served, the welcome you're given, and also the events. Lots of Desi pubs will have Bhangra, that kind of thing.
You spoke about the food in a Desi pub being better than a curry house. I mean, what has brought you to that conclusion?
Desi pubs, because of their Asian clientele, eat differently. We like to share food and chat, and that's where the mixed grill comes in, the sizzling patter. Now, this isn't a British mixed grill with, half tomato and lots of, beige meat. These are, marinated meats with spice and heat, cooked on a bed of onions and coming out with fire and smoke. And once you see that, you won't want to order anything else. It's a spectacle as well as a meal, and it's the idea of sharing. A lot of Desi pubs, the big thing is sports. So you go there, watch football, watch cricket, and so when you're with your mates, you want to attack the stack, and that's what it is. It's a barbecue. It's great. You can get curries, you can get naans, and everyone has a way of eating. Believe me, I've eaten the full range of what's on offer here. and live to tell the tale, having visited, I think, over 80 for the book. But the mixed grill is the star of the show.
Could you tell us a bit about the Gladstone?
I was here on the day they opened. It's really funny. I worked around the corner. I came in and Gaurav and Meg were putting up the Christmas decorations. And straight away I was like, oh, my spidey sense is tingling. This could be like a Desi pub. And I came back and I think really they nail this other definition of what Desi is. You are coming into their lounge. They are welcoming you. And I think it's the only London pub that I know where they introduce you to the locals.
Yeah, hi there. So my name is Gaurav Khanna. I'm one of the directors at the Gladstone Arms pub in Borough, run with my sister Megha Khanna.
So tell me about the Gladstone pub.
So the Gladstone has been a pub since 1862, run by a variety of landlords. The recent story is that my sister and I took over exactly 9 years ago today. It was threatened with demolition in 2014 when it was bought by private landlords from Punch Pubs. The community did a lot to save it. That's when we took over. And we do a mixture of Anglo-Indian food, music, comedy, and yeah, just a lovely community-run pub.
When you developed the pub, did you have a Desi pub in mind?
Well, when we took over the pub, we were, this is the first time. I was 25, for example, so even how to pour beer was new to me. So the Desi aspect came from our heritage. So we're Punjabi. I wanted to introduce a bit of us in the pub. So unknowingly becoming a Desi pub, but I really wanted to have aspects of us, our flavor in this, and that's how it progressed to be what it is.
And I want to hear more about the food. Tell me.
So this pub was known to do very famously really good pie minster pies. So when we took over, we did the pie minster pies, and then we thought, why don't we do something that we're all about? So the first Indianized dish we had on the menu was curry pies. So we're let's do pies because that's what they were known for, but our own twist. We do chicken tikka masala, we do kid goat keema, scrambled paneer, a vegan option as well. And very famously known for our Anglo-Indian Sunday roast, so homemade Yorkshire pudding, tastes like a naan bread. It's all about the curry sauce with bits of chicken or bits of lamb that make the gravy, spiced Bombay potatoes, and it just works. It's a really nice twist.
In terms of a point of comparison, what are some of the things that you're doing that others aren't and vice versa?
I think there's not much similar we're doing to other Desi pubs in the sense a lot of the other Desi pubs have macro beers. So the recognizable brands, while we're different in the sense that we have an ever-changing selection of beer. The food is similar in the sense of it being Indian, while most Desi pubs have your typical Indian curry house cuisine, which is done so well, especially with your tandoor and your grills as well.
David experienced racism in pubs growing up living in a majority white area. Discovering Desi pubs like the Gladstone later in life was empowering.
Tell me about the Blue-Eyed Maid.
We're just around the corner from the Blue-Eyed Maid. It's called the Blue Maid now. That was the first ever Desi pub I visited. But like a lot of people, I didn't realise it was a Desi pub. And I didn't even know what a Desi pub was. It was like a raucous late-night bar which had an Indian restaurant upstairs. And it was run by this Bangladeshi guy called Jay. And I used to go after work. I used to work at a newspaper nearby, and it was an evening job, so we used to finish very late, like midnight. I'll go there, have a lot of drinks, and then I suddenly realised I'm not in a white space. And it's the first time I had this kind of realisation, because it was the first time I realised I didn't have to code switch. Now, code switching is this idea of when I go into a pub, I try and knock off certain elements of myself, try and be something I'm not to fit in a bit more. But seeing the sort of army of brown bouncers that they were there, empowered Asian people, I kind of became more of myself, started to find myself. So the story of Desi Pubs to me is about finding myself as a drinker and finding myself in my leisure time.
In David's book, he traces the history of Desi pubs, and in particular, the significance of Smethwick in the West Midlands.
Why is Smethwick an important place in the story of Desi pubs?
So I think Smethwick is one of the most important places in this country if you want to have a positive view of how we can change and how we can become post-racism. So Smethwick was dubbed, according to headlines, the most racist town in Britain. It had so much racism that, People were barred from living in streets. Marshall Street had a colour bar. You could not, if you were Asian or black, get a property there. In the foundries, Asian people had to do the harder, more dangerous work for less money. They couldn't visit the pubs, or if they could, they were segregated as part of the colour bar. What's really important is when the pubs became Desi Pubs, when we became more of a welcoming, inclusive country, white people started going to Desi Pubs and they started to integrate with Asian people. Which this idea of integration is always like, how will Asian people integrate with white people? Well, actually, Smethwick shows what white people are like when they stay in their area, see it change for the better, and do all that dirty work of multiculturalism that politicians like to talk about, but never ever realise. Like, metropolitan areas are getting gentrified, and that actually means that they're becoming more white, whereas places like Smethwick, it has social problems, but it is incredibly diverse and incredibly welcoming.
So the West Midlands had to be the next place I went. Unlike London, the pubs here are more likely to call themselves Desi Pubs, with a strong sense of community and even an Indian pub association. I started in West Bromwich at the Red Lion in a large brown brick pub next to a dual carriageway.
You ain't gonna get there. Do you know what I mean?
Do you really need it?
Oh, it smells amazing here. Oh, that smells like great Indian food. Hi! I'm Jaega. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
My name's Satnam Purwal. I'm the owner of the Red Lion in West Bromwich.
Excellent. So give us a tour.
So the bar is the heart of the pub. This is a traditional bar. This is where people, you can't book, you just come in here. We actually got sports on in the background.
It looks like the kind of bar you can make a friend at as well.
This is where, you talk to random strangers on a Friday night,
In the bar, there are 4 beautiful stained glass windows. They were commissioned by an organisation called Creative Black Country to tell the story of Punjabi people moving from farms in India to work in foundries in the Midlands after the Second World War.
The next window was to show that it's just a bunch of men sitting at a table playing cards in a pub. And this is to show that the pub became an integral part of our that community's life, because at lunchtimes when they finished work they would go into a pub and they would drink a beer called Mild, and that Mild was a very weak ale, and it just used to help wash all that gunk down that they got, inhaled in the factories. And then after work they would go back to the pub because they used to generally live in shared houses with loads of people there. Their families hadn't come over with them yet, so the main place was the pub. So the pub became an integral part of a Punjabi person's life.
Could you tell me about the history of the Red Lion?
My father took over in 1997. It was a very traditional pub. At the time, very male-dominated. Lads used to come in here, have a cigarette, have a pint, watch a bit of sport. At the time, we used to do a Sunday carvery, and that was the only thing we offered. My dad was quite keen on bringing Indian cuisine here. Now, traditionally, Indian restaurants were run by Bangladeshi communities, and they've got a very different flavour. So then we got an Indian chef. We set it up. It was very simple at the time. We fed people on plastic plates, and the quality of food was restaurant quality, but we weren't offering all the other fine dining stuff. Things have sort of evolved over the last 27 years, and now we're offering restaurant quality service, but the main important core is that Desi home style cooking, which is so important to a Desi pub.
Why was the smoking ban such an important part of this pub's history?
Well, when we first took over, majority of our clientele used to come in here for a cigarette and a pint, and then as soon as the ban kicked in, we had to decide what we were going to do. But the breweries were sort of like desperate to sort of get some money back, so they started selling off some of their properties. And it's because of the smoking ban and the effects of that we were able to buy the pub. And because of that, it forced us to do a refurb, and it forced us to then open the pub out to not the traditional people that used pubs, but to everyone, because we said, well, actually, we can't just rely on a certain group anymore. And then that's when the family started coming in. It's probably, for us personally, I know in the trade it affected a lot of people negatively, but for us it's probably the best thing that ever happened. I'm so happy that smoking ban actually happened, because I can't imagine sitting in a pub now where people are smoking inside.
At the Red Lion, we are also meeting Nina Robinson, a journalist and someone who really knows about her Desi pubs.
My name's Nina Robinson. I'm a Brummie. I'm born and brought up just down the road from here.
Could you tell me about your experiences in Desi pubs?
So I'll say the first time that I ever came to a Desi pub was over a decade ago. And it was kind of the start of the scene, I would say, because at that time it was still like the bastion of like Indian men. And the only reason that I went was because my brother said to me that the fish pakora were incredible, right? These absolutely crispy morsels of fish, like with cumin, delicately spiced, and with the dip as well with it. He was like raving on and on about it. So I was like, oh, I gotta come. And it was just, the food was amazing. The vibe was really good, even though it was still quite like, Indian men. I wouldn't have gone on my own, I'd have to go with my brother. But so it's kind of developed a lot since then.
And how have Desi pubs changed in your times visiting them, eating, drinking there?
Just to see it blossom into something that has become much more of a thriving industry and well known in the whole, the West Midlands. In the same way that the Balti kind of took over, really the Desi pub has become the new Balti. It's been a mix of so many different cultures, and it's like some of those areas like Handsworth, a West Indian community, and different kind of, people from different parts of India. It's like such a melting pot that I think that is kind of like fuels the creative spirit of the place. And nowhere can you see that more but than in food. So they kind of, the creative spirit came up with the huge naan. I don't know if you've seen one of those in the Kabuli Darbar. That's this place that does absolutely massive naans. And, so they're all just like looking for something. What's the next thing? And they just came across like this, the sizzler grill, the drama of the grill. It's kind of brought to your table. It's like sizzling like anything. The smell is incredible. The aroma just like hits you. So it took off.
And on cue, a sizzling platter arrives at our table.
Wow, look at that food. It can only be described as a mountain of meat. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What have we got here?
Oh, that is the famous mixed grill. On there we have chicken tikka, masala tikka, garlic tikka, chicken wings, lamb chop, shish kebab, one lamb, one chicken shish kebab, and prawns as well, and the fish pakora.
What was the experience of going to a pub with your dad compared to how it is now?
So there was a pub at the top of our road where we used to live, and he always used to be in there. So my mum used to send me to go and, call him for dinner. He's told me since then what his experiences were, and also my uncles as well, when they used to go to the pub. And they were subject to a lot of racism at that time. They had a lot of difficulty getting into pubs, being served in pubs. They were given different glasses because they were, supposedly, they didn't want their germs on the glasses that they were going to give to the white customers. And so I think it's very ironic now that the very same pubs that kind of lost business, and they felt that they were kind of invincible in a way, that they didn't need that customer base, that they could treat them in such a disrespectful way, that's the generation that are owning those pubs. And it shows a lot about migration and the value of immigrants, which at a time when immigration is becoming so devalued, and there's a rise of racism again around here. We came a really long way. Not to say we've got put one over on white racist landlords. It's not about that. It's about, like, if we work together, we can save a British tradition. You know, we can revive a trade, but it's just about kind of understanding that there's more that unites us in our shared love of this, you know, this place, the pub and the locality and the people who live in here, than there is that divides us.
We have spoken to a lot of men in the making of this programme. I mean, as a woman, what's been your experience?
Yeah, because I think, as I said, it has been a male bastion, the pub scene, you know, especially within South Asian communities. Because when I was a kid, it was just my dad and my uncles that used to go to the pub, and all the women used to stay at home. But like my generation, we went to pubs. All girls went to pubs. So it has changed. But the critical role, I think, that often gets overlooked in the growth of the Desi pub scene is that they are behind the scenes. They're not always front of house, but there'll be, you know, that critical support or, you know, business support of females in the team, but also within the clientele. So I only felt comfortable going with my family because other women were there, you know, and I think that has really contributed to its success, and how it's been able to bring in people and families is because the women, you know, people like me, think, yeah, this is okay, I want to bring my family here.
The colour bar and its legacy are a key part of the Desi pub story. The 1965 Race Relations Act made the banning of non-white people from venues or services illegal. Here's David Jesudason again.
So the colour bar was in place before and after the Second World War, and then ran right up until recent times. So a great example of this is where I live in South East London. There's a pub called The Barge, and it's Wetherspoons now. It used to be called the Breakspear, and it had a black bar and a white bar, and it had segregated toilets which were outside, so black people could only use the toilets outside, and that was in place until the mid-90s. People will often say, well, why wasn't this challenged? And exclusion in pubs is a civil matter, so for that to be challenged, one person has to go to the courts and take it up, and people often don't know about going through legal routes. So de facto colour bars ran until very recently. It's part of the history of the no blacks, no Irish, and Asian people were part of this. And so the big case of segregation was in Smethwick, where Asian people were banned from buying property, they were banned from certain shops like barbers, and banned from pubs. But a lot of pubs are very big, so they have different rooms like the smoking room, the lounge. And so this is where the colour bar is a class-based bar. So they would allow Asian people into the working class areas of the pub, like the lounge.
I'm now heading to Smethwick, a 10-minute drive south of the Red Lion in West Bromwich, to our next pub, possibly the most famous.
I'm Raj Pal. I'm a curator historian and a podcaster. I live in Birmingham. It's been home for the last about 32 years, and I am not born and bred, but apart from that, a proper Pakka Brummy.
And we're outside of the Blue Gates Hotel.
Yeah.
Why are we here?
So the Blue Gates is quite a famous pub. It's famous for the fact that when Malcolm X came to Birmingham in 1965, he came because he knew that there was a lot of kind of conflict about particularly Asian men who worked in the foundries here. One, not being allowed into many pubs, and two, being just restricted to certain areas of those pubs. And this is a very iconic pub because Malcolm X walked alone to Marshall Street, where they had this campaign, the locals had a campaign not to rent their houses to Asian people. Same old story, you know, they smell, they're too noisy, they have too many children, all that sort of stuff, yeah. And it was a very racist campaign to keep that street white. And so Malcolm X went there, and he received a lot of hostility afterwards. He fancied a drink. So he and Avtar Joel, who was one of the main kind of agitators who brought him here, went into this pub. And in those days, you had like the saloon bar, the smoking bar, the public bar, etc. So the bar that they went into, he was refused service. So this became really iconic for Malcolm X's visit, because just a few days later he was shot dead in America. The pub itself is frankly nothing to write home about.
Well, this pub is now owned by a South Asian person.
Well, this is the big irony, is that a lot of those racist landlords, well, what do they have to do? Look, there is racism, but there is also an economy to the place that you're running. You can't make profits if you're barring, I don't know, half your clientele. So many of them went out of business, were boycotted. I mean, this was a massive campaign, by the way. You know, it's like, what's that joke about? You have the campaign for real ale. This is the campaign for removing racism or something like that. To give you an example, for instance, if pub landlords would, when they reapplied for their licenses, agitators would go to court, to the magistrates' court, and say, no, they shouldn't, they're racist. And also, I think gradually, as the economy of the West Midlands really suffered from deindustrialisation, and this is the really crucial bit, a lot of these pubs actually went out of business. So in this area, the cultural impact is this. Some of these pubs are gradually taken over by Asian men, mostly Punjabi entrepreneurs. Initially, they started as sort of like a bit of a dive, you know, you go in, there was some food available, and so on and so forth. And they were mostly for Asian men. And this is the really happy story. What's happened is they've now evolved into an absolute heart of the community. My son and I are big West Bromwich Albion fans. So on match days, you know, our routine is to go to a Desi pub. My son, who's a mixed heritage, he loves his, guess what? Mixed grill. He loves his mixed grill with chips and a naan. Then we go off to watch the match, and we do that every time. So they are truly multicultural. But above all, I think they are now much more welcoming of women, which wasn't the case in the past. And they really, in a sense, they're much more reflective of the way that society is now than the way that some people would want to imagine it to be.
Raj Pal there. His podcast with the historian Corinne Fowler is only in Birmingham. Our next pub is down the road from the Blue Gates. The Red Cow has a huge statue of a red cow out front, and there we found a group of men, and one of them was brandishing David Jesudason's book. Desi Pubs have come a long way from that picture of Punjabi men in the stained glass window. People now come from far and wide in search of a pint and a vibrantly coloured mixed grill.
I live up here in Birmingham, and my friends from down south come up and see me every year. We go to the cricket, and one time a guy came with us, who's my friend's friend, is inside, and he mentioned in the back of the cab, "You ever been to a Desi pub?" And I said, what's one of those then? He said, "Oh, it's just like Indian mixed grill, tikka, just meat, and he gave me some kind of history about it, and I thought, oh my God, that's right up my street.
Are you guys doing a bit of a Desi pub tour? It sounds like.
Kind of, yeah. Well,
Sort of.
when I went to, I don't know, I went to one of these Desi pubs, and I got a handbook, if you like, and I give it to my mate over there. It's a present, said, "Listen, mate, I know you're into this. Every time we come up to Edgbaston, we've got to hit one of these Desi pubs." And it's a bit of a tradition now, and we're doing it for the last 3 or 4 years. So this is our first time to the Red Cow.
Are you enjoying your experience in the Red Cow so far?
Yeah, so far it's all right, yeah. It's a pub, as a normal pub would be, but then you've got bang-on Indian cuisine, or Punjabi cuisine in the background, so... No, it's great and a thrill.
Are you going to come and eat tonight?
Absolutely. I'm going to go for the, I think it's called the original cow. It's got no fish in it. I can't do fish. I've sized up what I'm going to eat. I'm going to bury it and probably take home a doggy bag, no doubt.
Would you introduce yourself?
I'm Linda Foster.
And you're a regular at the Red Cow?
Yes, I come here probably about twice a week.
And how long have you been coming to this pub?
About 3 years.
What do you make of the pub?
This pub is amazing.
Why do you like it?
Why I like it is because when I moved over here, they were really kind and really nice, and the food's amazing. The food's amazing as well, so that's a good thing.
What's your regular order?
Lamb biryani.
Ooh.
Lamb biryani.
And what would you drink?
Only Carling.
So lager and a lamb biryani.
Yeah.
That sounds like a perfect night.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is a perfect night, isn't it, my darling?
The Red Cow feels a bit more raucous than the other pubs we've been in. Loud music blasting as we headed in, with darts and quiz shows on the TV. Beer O'Malley is the landlord and took over the pub in 2010.
Before then, I had another pub on the other side of Smethwick, the Red Fort. So that's the one I took over in 1999. And that wasn't a Desi pub. So when I took over in 1999, that's when I introduced the food. And I'm the first one to introduce the mixed grills. Yeah.
I checked back with David Jesudason on the origin of the mixed grill. Let's just say it's disputed.
I don't care what everybody says. Yes, in 1999, and I'm introduced the mixed grills and the chicken wings. You're not going to believe this. We used to get the chicken wings free of charge.
Oh, wow.
They used to throw them away,
How much do you know about the way the colour bar used to work in this pub? Because I believe this was a pub where the colour bar did operate.
Well, yes, this was one of the pub. There's another one on the other end of the high street, the Blue Gate. And this one, and it's colour bar. Yeah, I've actually got a cutting of the people when the actual case went to the House of Parliament, and to be honest, not just this one, there was a lot of colour bars all over the place. I know I've been through all the 70s, 80s, all the racism and all that. This was one of the, we wasn't allowed to go into certain rooms. It was terrible then.
How does it feel for you personally to kind of come back and run a pub that perhaps you wouldn't have been welcome to drink in?
To be honest, I feel so, because since I left school, I've worked. Then I've seen all these, racism, not allowed. And then sometimes I sit down and say, bloody sorry. And, now we own it, the people who wasn't allowed to come in. I feel, for the community, I feel so proud, to be honest. Yeah.
How important is football here?
Football, especially the Albion, it's very, very important. Like tonight we got the Albion playing home. And which is a good thing because we are lucky we got our own taxi company, Heritage Cars, and what we do, the supporters comes in home, on the home games, and we provide them free taxis to the ground. And
that's popular.
Oh, it's very, very popular. That way the supporters are happy.
So do people come, they eat, they drink,
they
go watch the football?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So it's all part of the pub experience?
Yeah.
My name's Mike Bowen. I come from the West Midlands. Yeah, and this pub here, that's the one that we always go to before the games because of the food and because of the good company that's kept in the place.
So talk me through the pre-match ritual.
The pre-match ritual, we normally have a few beers and then choose something off the menu and then eat that, and then the good thing about this pub is they lay on free taxis for us to take us up to the game after.
What's your favourite dish? What do you order off the menu?
I like the mixed grill that they do. Yeah, and they do it in 3 different sizes. The smallest one's for one person, and then the biggest one can be shared by up to 4 or 5 people at the table.
2-0 to the Albion against Sheffield United, in case you were wondering. We are going to end up back in London for our final pub. The Regency Club has a very different feel to the pubs I've visited in the West Midlands. It definitely is a pub, but that's not immediately obvious from the outside.
So we're in Queensbury, northwest London, close to Harrow.
Yes, we're in a big Asian area. But the thing that I love about the Regency is the blacked out windows. Because of this idea of that they were clubs, people used to look in and think it was a sex club or something like that.
Well, it does look like a pub inside.
It does, doesn't it?
Lots of sport on the TV, beers behind the taps. Cricket on the telly. Hi, Rahul, my name's Jaega.
Very nice to meet you. Welcome. Good to see you again, buddy.
Hi, you're right.
Yeah, really well, thank you.
Rahul Sharma is the director and shows me around.
Obviously, as you first walk into the place, you've got a massive big bar area.
Yeah.
And, you know, it does set the tone of being a social venue. And it's so important for us to have that pub vibe and look and feel in the place. We don't want it to feel like a restaurant, if that makes sense.
It looks very different from the outside.
It does. A lot of people don't expect it's going to be like this, right? Yeah. But I think loads of guests love the fact they can see the food being cooked.
Oh, yes, and it smells so good in here.
No, I mean, it's one of those things where so many people stand exactly where you are right now. They watch the order printing in the printer, the staff taking it, prepping it, getting it cooked, watching it being served on the tray, and then following it to their table. So it's like a journey which they sort of like enjoy watching.
I want to continue the kitchen
absolutely.
tour.
So we're at the past. This is where the food gets dished out.
Oh, wow, look at
so you can
that.
see some food there at the moment. So that's someone's main course that's about to go out. So we've got a variety of curries there and lentils and dal with some Jaega rice. And the kind of food that we do over here is a lot of Kenyan style of cooking with Indian spices. So we're actually known as being more of a bar and a grill. So it's actually the starters that we're actually really well known for. And we've got a robata grill at the back over there, and that's where you find all the skewered meats being cooked on. That is sort of a very traditional Kenyan way of cooking, whereas traditionally a lot of Indian restaurants would put meat into a tandoor oven, which is a low and slow way of cooking, whereas we're doing it on a high heat with that sort of char grill sort of flames on it.
Firstly, thank you so much for a pint, and we've got food on the way. I'm in food programme heaven. Tell me about the Regency Club. I want to know all about it.
So it's a bar and grill that was started 34 years ago now in 1991 by my father, who's Navin Sharma. And the idea was it was supposed to be a home away from home for a lot of the migrant communities at that time. And that's how the business first started as just one single unit. And over the years, it sort of expanded to 2, 3, and now 4. And it's very much now become a more food-led business as opposed to just drinks, how it was when it first started.
So interestingly, this place is, from the outside certainly, not a pub. And it's called the Regency Club. I mean, could you tell me more about the club aspect?
Absolutely. So the reason why it's called Club, and this is the reason why we've actually still kept that name the way it is. When my father first initially tried to get an alcohol license to start the business, he was refused, and it was only able to get it if the business was made into a members club for his own community. And that's the reason why the club element has still stayed as part of the name of the business. And ultimately, when it first opened, it did also was run as a members club, so you had to be a member to come in. Only members were allowed to pay at the bar, and there was a visitor signing in book as well. And over the years, we've sort of adapted that for it to become a loyalty scheme instead.
The phrase a Desi pub, I mean, how much have you connected kind of with that phrase and this place?
To be honest with you, it's a phrase that we've actually never used ever. You won't see that phrase on our website, on our marketing, or in any publications, on the menu, anywhere at all. I think it's something which our customers have told us about instead. And the reason being is because it wasn't something that we originally set out to be as such. And we never put a tag or a name to a concept that we're creating, if that makes sense. It's more about us fusing two cultures together, and it's our own personal love of the pub and food. And I think having that tag of a Desi pub is fantastic and explains really well what we actually do. But I used to call it a curry and a pint concept back in the days.
This is my dream venue. I mean, in terms of when you met David, did you two meet when you were writing the book, David?
Yeah. The thing that I love most about when I come here is that it is a family. It might seem like marketing, but you've got the people who like work now worked in the early 90s and have the same uniform.
So, I mean, I'm curious, and I suppose this question is for you, David. I mean, what makes this venue a Desi pub over an Indian restaurant?
you can come in and just have a beer.
Absolutely, 100%. Many customers come here just for drinks and to socialise, and we promote that. We promote the fact that you don't have to come here for any purpose.
As we're talking, a waiter brings a mix of incredible smelling dishes to our table.
So the first dish is the garlic mogo, which is our best-selling dish. We sell 36,000 portions a year of it, and it's a very Moorish dish. You'll always find one on every single table. Then we've got our Regency kebabs, which is made using minced lamb, and that's cooked on the Rabata grill. Then the chicken wings, which are to absolutely die for. So it's really unique. It's a great fusion between the Kenyan style of meats that we have available with Indian spices.
David, can I just say thank you so much for bringing us here?
No, I know, it's an absolute treat, isn't it?
It's a gem.
I know, it angers me that, like, people haven't heard of it. You know, it's like, when you saw outside what it was like, oh my God, where have you taken me? And then when you came in, it was opening the door is like going to the land of Oz, where it turns into colour, and then you realise the amount of thought and everything that's gone into it, and it's like, well, why hasn't this been championed in the same way that you have all those other restaurants and everything? And that's why I'm like, I've just told these stories. You've just heard all those wonderful words that Raoul said. It's come from people like Raoul and Raoul's father, who fought for these spaces to exist.
Yeah, so the reason we're here drinking this pint, eating this delicious food, there was a history, there was a legacy, and it's been fought for. Yeah,
it's been fought for. So Raoul's dad fought for the space to be open, and he fights every day for it to be kept open, whether it be COVID, whether it be national insurance changes, whether it be rising energy prices. It is an absolute privilege to sit here and see this amazing spread and attack the stack.